Hey, if you've seen my macro photography shots, you'll know I've promised you a quick tutorial on how I produce these shots. So, firstly, I'll go through the equipment I use to do it. I use the Olympus EPL1, an MD to make 4/3 converter, macro tube, like an extension tube, a 2x teleconverter, and a 50mm 1.7 Nolta lens. Now, for macro photography, you need three things. You need low shutter speed to, fast shutter speed to remove any chance of motion blur. You need a high aperture to increase the depth of field to allow for everything you want to be in focus, and also obviously you want low ISO so you don't have, again, less noise. Unfortunately, all these requirements require quite a lot of light, and this is why people usually sacrifice one of these things, such as by mounting your camera on your tripod so you can have larger shutter speeds, or taking pictures at a higher ISO, etc, etc. I do not use a tripod, so I need reasonably low shutter speed, so I use a different method, and this is going to be what I talk about in this video. So firstly, I'm going to explain why I use this equipment. Most importantly, I don't use make 4/3 lenses. There are two reasons for this. One, there's no good native macro lenses for make 4/3, and secondly, if you're not using native lens and want to use extension tubes, you lose any electrical connection between your camera and the lens. This makes it impossible to change settings on the lens without easily. So I use a manual lens, which allows me to change the aperture and the focus independent of any electrical connections. So this camera's off, but I can change focus, change aperture, and do all those kind of things. So, like I say, I don't use a tripod, so I instead choose on full manual, which on this camera is obviously M, and basically choose the settings which are the worst I can get away with. So for shutter speed, maybe down to, I'm not sure if you can see this very well, but down to about 10th of a second, maybe even less. So basically I start off by setting the shutter speed to the quickest I can take shots with that aren't blurry. At that point, I'm not too worried about like light levels or anything. I'm just trying to get as long a shutter speed as I can get away with. Once I have that, then also do a similar thing for the ISO levels. So I again see what I can get away with, take a few shots, usually it's about like 400 before you start getting any significant noise. And then once you have those two settings set, the only thing you have left to set is the aperture settings. So what I tend to do is I tend to start off on 1.7, which is the maximum aperture I can get for this lens. This isn't the point I'm going to take the picture. This is just what I use to compose the picture. So and I get the shot in position, and then I focus it. I'm not sure if this is quite difficult to do here, but so anyway, focus it, and once I have it in focus, which that is just about there, and then holding it as steady as you can, and then quickly turn up the aperture to a value, and then take the picture. Now obviously that's too low, so I turn the aperture back a bit, take it again until I get to a point where the picture is of suitable brightness. So this brings me back to another point, and that's lighting. If you want to take photos this way, you only really are able to do it during the daylight hours outside using the sun, because it's such a powerful light source. But even in those situations, I always use the pop-up flash on max power just to provide more light. With macro photography, you can never have enough light. If you have, ideally you want a big external flash, but I don't have one, so I just use, like I say, the internal flash plus as much sunlight as I can use. And that's basically my method. So just recapping: get lots of light, flash and sun, get a reasonable lens selection, so manual lens, some form of extension tubes, etc. Set the shutter speed to the slowest you can get away with. Set the ISO level to the lowest you can get away with. And then when you want to take the picture, vary the aperture. Start off with a wide aperture so you can have enough light to use the screen to get the focus in the right position, and then increase it while holding the camera steady to increase the depth of field prior to pressing the shutter button. So that's basically my method, and if you have any questions, please contact me. Also, you will notice in my video channel there's a little slideshow produced of photos I took using this method, so if you have any so you can see what kind of results you can get from this method. Like I say, this isn't the best method. If you want the best method, you need to use tripods, external flashes and things, but this is the method I use, and if you look at the results I've produced, I'm quite happy with them, and therefore I'm quite happy with this method as a way to capture macro photography shots. And that's all I have to say, so thanks for watching, bye!